Thank you very much, Roberto.
So we've been deprived of our lunch break and now we can just
Right, I will give you a very, very brief history of MetaNet and the broader context of what we're doing in this session, this joint session with the LT Innovate initiative. I will introduce briefly MetaNet and then we'll hand over to Georg Rehm. There is a little bit of redundancy with the presentation that Hans Oskureit gave in the morning. We consider this a good thing, so just to drive the point home. MetaNet is a network of excellence dedicated to fostering the technological foundations of the European Multilingual Information Society that you know. We have 3 lines of action. Meta Research is represented outside in a booth. You can have a look at the demos there. MetaShare, same thing. We will also have a MetaShare session tomorrow in the morning. I will concentrate for now on the first line of action that we have, MetaVision, especially on the building a community aspect of MetaVision. Later on in the other presentations you will hear about the strategic research agenda and other plans. As I said, a brief history of MetaNet. We started out with a consortium called T4Me, 13 founding members in 10 countries. Later on, we extended the network. We always used the MetaNet brand for that specific reason, that we can extend the network by other partners, other members. This we did in early 2011 when 3 PSP projects joined us, funded under the ICT PSP call. MetaNet grew to 40 members in 28 countries. Later on, people got interested, wanted to join, they sent us applications. We extended even further to 44 members in 31 countries. And with another round of extensions, we are now at 60 members in 34 countries. And this is the map, just to give you a brief idea. Recently we added Turkey, a research center in Turkey. To give you an idea about the faces behind the whole thing, most of them are here. This picture was taken at a meeting in Berlin, actually in October last year. I mentioned the community building aspect of the initiative. A very, very important aspect of that is not only assembling excellent research centers from all over Europe in MetaNet itself, but also reaching out to other projects, other initiatives. This is why we, more or less right from the start of the initiative, we began to reach out to the coordinators of other projects in order to sign collaboration agreements, a memoranda of understanding. Clarin was one of the first initiatives we approached. By now we have either finalized or in the process of being finalized collaboration agreements with 46 other projects. You see most of them here represented as logos on the slide. There are many aspects of doing collaboration work with these projects. For example, acquiring additional language resources and technologies for being distributed and uploaded in MetaShare. That's one aspect. Or MT research is another important aspect. Or in the case of FlareNet, for example, FlareNet worked on the strategic research part for Europe as regards language resources, so we're taking their findings and results on board, of course, and dissemination work in both directions. And all this is part of the building up a coherent community aspect of the whole thing. And one of the next steps, of course, is to draft an agreement, a collaboration agreement between LT Innovate and MetaNet. This is still on our things to do. We often get the question, MetaNet and Meta, is it the same thing, just different names? No, it's not the same thing. The main goal of MetaNet, as specified in paragraph 2 or section 2 of our statutes, is the main objective of MetaNet is to establish the Multilingual Europe Technology Alliance Meta as an open alliance of all stakeholders. It was mentioned a couple of times already at this event and other events that the field that we have in Europe, the European LT landscape, is very heterogeneous, very fragmented, and that we need to bring the field together. There are many, many research centers, people involved in industrial R&D in that field, many one-man shows, very small companies or SMEs, a few big players, very few big players actually. Politicians are involved, journalists, funding agencies, very, very many funding agencies actually, and we want to bring them all together under this umbrella organization Meta. Just a few facts about the whole thing before I already come to the last slide. MetaNet is a network of excellence. Meta is an open technology alliance, ideally representing the whole European LT community. Everybody can join, so if your organization is not a member yet, you can join online for free. There are no strings attached, no financial obligations whatsoever. The types of members are clearly differentiated here, so we have many, many different stakeholder types represented in Meta. I mentioned all of them already, except for LSPs, governmental bodies, and also EFNIL, of course, our friends from EFNIL, with the umbrella organization that is EFNIL, and also many EFNIL members are already members of Meta. Current count is, I think, 631 or 632 members that we have, and it's growing day by day. We have, in addition to those already mentioned, W3C, Google, Microsoft Research, many, many smaller companies, and so on. Now, the most important bit that you can see on the slide here is the membership base. We have 64-65% academia as members in Meta. Industry, 31%, so roughly 1/3. And the rest is government and NGOs. And this fact already brings me to the penultimate slide. I wanted to put across in this short introduction that the European LT community comprises many different stakeholders. It's fragmented, heterogeneous, and as MetaNet, after 2 years of very hard work, now we have collected and assembled under the Meta umbrella a large part of this community. We have well-covered research, language communities, society, politics. Industry, though, continues to be a big challenge. It is still a big challenge, despite the fact that we as LT researchers are involved in many projects with industry members or people from industry, but still, there is a lot of work to be done, and it needs a lot of time, a lot of effort to gather contacts, to identify people, to get ideally all the players from the LT provider and user industries on board, and especially those that are not active yet on the European scale. So there is an urgent need for charting the field, building ideas for innovation, market assessment, market trends, innovation strategies, and so on and so forth. The list is more or less countless. And we as MetaNet are extremely happy that the European Commission established LT Innovate, the Forum for Europe's language technology industry, in order to fill these crucial gaps that we're facing. And to present another picture, this is roughly, we used this picture more or less from day one of MetaNet. This is more or less the current state of play. So we have at the heart the Meta community, we have the language communities with EFNIL as a big representative body, we have policymakers on board, ISO for example, W3C, we have the user industries on board with Gala. Serge Latkov gave a great presentation about this and Gala's ideas for collaboration earlier on. And then this crucial gap, which is now filled with the LT Innovate initiative, bringing provider industries and user industries also on board so that we really have a coherent community. This is, I guess, roughly it. It's not exactly 3 hours, Roberto.
Yes, only 2 minutes extra.
Okay, so I would then hand over to Jochen Hummel to give a brief introduction about LT Innovate.